We ready to get this party started?
Certainly. Ready if you guys
Jared is in a collared shirt, no hat. I thought he had cologne on, but he said he's not wearing any cologne.
Have you brushed your
But
teeth?
I did brush my teeth.
he really cleaned himself up for this power hour.
And guys, I have 5 calls today, and none of them are client facing. This is all for the outliers. Otherwise,
know,
I'd be in sweats and backwards. It's just for you guys.
Laura, nice to see you.
Hey, are you ready?
You don't know Jared that well yet, but I mean, Jared is hatless today, collared shirt. I thought cologne, no cologne, but he's really gotten himself all looking sharp for this power hour.
We feel privileged, is what I hear.
So I had to ask Kathy to explain to me what Jared was going to talk about. Because I didn't understand. He used a fancy word that was above my pay grade. But basically, he's going to talk about how AI is impacting marketing. He has a much fancier way of saying that, but that's at least what I take out of it. And Jared is one of my favorite. Like, I just love the guy. Love him.
I appreciate that.
Great skater. He's who I aspire to be next year when we go to Rockefeller Center. I aspire to be Jared on the ice. That will likely not happen, but you can always dream. A boy can always dream. So,
hey Scott, you know what they say. Hey Scott, you know what they say. Stick with what you know, right?
Exactly. I'm a land guy, and not ice is not really land.
Nope.
It's frozen water. So it's not my element. Hello, Heather. Good to see you. All right, Jared from Philadelphia, advertising executive extraordinaire. What are you going to talk to us about, brother?
So, guys, first of all, I just want to say thank you for making time for me today. I know that all of you are very busy, so I'm grateful to see so many wonderful faces on the call today. The whole reason that I chose this topic is I've had this conversation with every single one of my clients over the last 6 months. And I received the same positive feedback every single time. And a lot of the reactions to it were, I can't believe I wasn't putting any real thought into this. So I wanted to try and bring something to the outliers that will hopefully be actionable for you to take to your business or even your personal lives, just using AI as a whole. But one of the biggest things that I'm seeing is a lot of marketers are panicking over the last year. And I think a big reason that they're doing so and making some rash decisions in some instances are because they haven't fully grasped what user behavior with AI is doing to actual attribution and actual traffic on the website. So my biggest goal for today is to make this extremely conversational. If you have any questions as we're going through it, just please take yourself off mute, ask the questions. We'll go through it right then and there. But I'm really hoping that after this, you'll all have a better understanding of how user behavior is shifting on search engines, the difficulties around actually taking your marketing and tying attribution to it. And then lastly, for the last bit of this meeting today, I want to do a bit of a workshop with you guys. And, we can actually use different AI platforms to, kind of work through some of the things I'm going to talk about today. So before I get into anything, I just want to, kind of point out, like, whether you're using AI intentionally or not, you're encountering it every day, whether you realize it or not. So just to poll the room real quickly, how many of you are intentionally using AI, whether it's for personal or business? Cool. I'm seeing a bunch of hands shooting up. Does anybody care to share what AI platforms they're using?
I use Perplexity.
It's a very popular one. Anybody else?
I mainly use ChatGPT. I think I have a membership to ChatGPT and Gemini.
Awesome. So these are usually the heavy hitters that usually come up when you ask that question. Seeing a lot of ChatGPT in the chat bar to the right. Claude's a big one, Brent. Is anyone brave enough to share the purpose that they're using it or what they're actually using it for, whether it's personal or business?
I can tell you something I'm using it for right now. I purchased a program that's based on ChatGPT for my business, that goes through from strategy, defining your ICP and your marketplace value, and then going through, there's I think eight ChatGPTs, and you go through a number of different questions. And I'm working right now on a campaign platform.
Cool.
And modifying it to the way that I speak, and then putting it into a document.
Awesome. So I know that the acumen's going to be a little bit different all over the room today. Some people are going to be super advanced. Some might not be as familiar. So if it seems a little basic, some of the things I want to go through, just be patient with me. And like I said, if it's a little too complicated, need to dumb it down a little bit, I'm using those fancy words that Scott talked about, just let me know. I do have a couple slides that I wanted to share just because I think the visualization is going to make it easier for people to grasp some of these concepts. So let me share my screen. Is everybody able to see this?
Yes.
Yeah, we're good.
Cool.
And
So
welcome, Kate Donovan, who literally just joined like 5 seconds ago.
awesome. Hi, Kate. Good to see you. Just so you guys know, when I'm presenting, I can't see anyone's faces anymore. So if you do have a question, something like that, instead of raising your hand, just come off mute and just let me know. One of the biggest trends that we've seen the last like year and a half, 2 years in terms of like AI impacts on digital traffic, its very basic starting point is the AI overviews. And all this is I'm sure you've seen it. If you go to a search engine like Google and you type in a search, the results at the top will actually say AI overviews. And it basically gives you the answer to your search, gives you all the information you want without actually having to go to the website to find it. So that is leading to increases in what we call zero-click searches. And I know this is a lot of industry jargon, but it's pretty simplistic when you actually break it down. A zero-click search just speaks to whenever somebody does a search on Google, gets all the information they need without ever needing to click into a website, and they can be on with their day. So as AI platforms continue to get used more and more, and platforms like Google are prioritizing this, we're seeing huge surges in these zero-click searches. But the biggest impact that we're seeing for marketers is if people are getting the info they need without having to click into your website, a lot of marketers are starting to panic because they're seeing less people actually on their website. They're seeing huge dips in year-over-year traffic totals on their website. It doesn't mean that people aren't getting the information they need. It just means that they're getting it in a new and different way. So I just wanted to give the visualization here. So this is what it looks like. I'm sure a lot of you know exactly what we're talking about with this, but I just went on Google, typed in what is an AI overview in the search bar, and you'll see that it has AI overview. It gives all the information. If you click here, it usually gives other links, different things like that. But anytime that you're showing up in these, like with the AI overviews, 87% of the time when they're served, they're showing up at the top of the page. And to use the old newspaper terms, it's the above the fold, don't have to scroll down, the prime real estate. So everyone's still with me for that? It's a pretty simple one, but I just wanted to check in.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep.
So the next big one that we've with a lot of, not just like my clients, but the industry as a whole, is there's been a huge increase in what's called AI referral traffic. And to give you an example of this, if there's any baseball fans, I saw that Kyle Tucker just signed with the Dodgers today. If I were to go into ChatGPT and type in, give me the details of this new Kyle Tucker contract with the Dodgers, ChatGPT is going to give me all the info it can find around it. And there's most likely going to be a link to like the Dodgers website. If I actually click that link and go to the Dodgers website, in something like Google Analytics, this would be referred to as ChatGPT referral traffic, and that's how it would show up. Is anyone in the room using Google Analytics at all for their business?
I do.
Okay. So As much as I love Google Analytics, there's definitely some flaws around it, but this is a very easy way of trying to figure out how people are getting to your website. I love telling this story to kind of introduce the challenge with this. So one of my coworkers' mothers, she's in her 60s and she uses ChatGPT for absolutely everything. A couple of months ago, she needed to schedule an appointment with an optometrist. So she went to ChatGPT and she put in all of her parameters. She asked something along the lines of, pull me a list of all the optometrists in a 10-mile radius around my address. Only doctors that have 4.8 star reviews on Google or higher. They have to accept Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield and just provide their contact information, their phone numbers. So when she did that, in her results in ChatGPT, she got all the different doctors that fit those parameters, and she just called right from ChatGPT. She looked at the number, dialed her phone, set up an appointment. And this is the challenge that a lot of marketers are facing. A lot of these AI platforms are a complete walled garden. And if people are doing their research in there and they're like, for instance, in this doctor example, there's no way of figuring out what marketing led that person to find it. There's no way of showing any attribution to it because the whole consumer journey took place in ChatGPT. So I wanted to ask this to the room because I'm not a fan of this, but I know a lot of my clients tend to do it. Whenever you have new customers, new patients, anything like that, do you have any type of form or survey for how they found you?
So, Jared, this is Brent. I can't answer that question, but I'm still catching up on the walled garden concept.
Sure.
So chat does not, or any of these AIs, there's no traceability back. Wouldn't those companies eventually monetize that? I mean, they will develop that, right?
Great question. And it's widely speculated in our industry that that's going to be happening in the near future. I know that ChatGPT is like owned through OpenAI. And at the end of 2025, they went on a huge hiring surge. And the speculation around it is that they're going to find ways to start monetizing like things like ChatGPT, kind of like Google search, where it would be more of a pay to play instance so that advertisers can start to show up there. I've lost track of how many of my clients have asked me if that's something we can do yet. So there's a huge demand for it. And I want to be very clear here. It might be worthwhile if I actually go into ChatGPT or something like that. I pulled this up as a case. Can you guys still see my screen?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay. So I tried to recreate that example of my coworker's mother that was finding like an optometrist. And you'll see how it lists like different ones that are around me. In order for there to be any attribution to it, I would have to actually click out of ChatGPT and get to Trend Eye Care's website in this example. If they're looking at Google Analytics right now, it's going to show my session is coming from ChatGPT referral traffic. If I never clicked on that, though, if I just like went in here, see how if I click it this way and it actually just gives the information, I never left ChatGPT. This is where it's the walled garden and the business has no way of showing attribution for that person. If I were to make a phone call, schedule an appointment, they would have no idea how I found them. Does that clarify your question and help, Brent?
No, it does for sure. Yeah. But I think there's also some, and I don't want to take it away from the original question, but there's some indication of like what drives that traffic, right? In terms of content yeah. So there's there's an indirect way to know how you're getting into those.
It's very difficult on this one because if you're doing the right things for like search engine optimization, there's a new term in our industry called GEO, which is generative optimization, generative engine optimization. And when you're doing those things, it's more likely that you're going to show up in these results because essentially these AI platforms are scaling things like Google, depending on which one it is. They're scaling things like Bing. So they are pulling this from what is online. So if you're putting out the right content, things like that, it will, in theory, help you show up in these different AI engines.
So Jared, will you be talking about how to impact?
Yes, that's going to be part of our
question. I keep
that's going to be our workshop.
CEO.
I'm sorry, I missed. What was that?
I was just saying, I keep hearing AEO, GEO, AIO. Admittedly, I need to dig in and learn more about leveraging, but I didn't know if you were going to be hitting on those.
Yeah, that'll be in the kind of last portion of this. We're going to do a bit of a workshop, and I'll try to give you some actionable ways that you can start looking at this and using these platforms to start helping with your marketing, whether it's search engine optimization or even just your paid efforts as well. Jumping back into this, the whole reason that I asked that question about this survey is a lot of marketers are trying to solve how do we find these different people who are their entire consumer journey is taking place in something like ChatGPT. So how do we start to not only optimize towards it, but also figuring out like where these people are coming from? So I always hate when people have the, hey, like, how'd you find us? Because I think people aren't the best at answering that, especially if they're getting served an ad on Facebook, they're getting ads on Google, they're seeing your television commercial, they see your, side of a bus your logo's on, something like that. They might share what they last found you on and not what actually had them find your business in the first place. But if you're doing one of these surveys, I found that every time I've asked my clients if AI was an answer, they all said no. And they all said, I can't believe it's not an answer. A creative workaround that I found for this is just not only having AI be one of the answers to, how did you find us if you do any type of new customer form. I came across someone who took it a step further, and they will actually speak with the person. If they fill this out, he will give them a phone call if they answered AI, and he'll just ask like, hey, like in an effort to try and help more people like you, I don't understand how you found us through AI. Like, would you be willing to share the prompts that you use to get to our business? He said that sometimes people will copy and paste the entire conversation they had with ChatGPT or whatever platform it was and email it over. Other people will just say like over the phone, like, yeah, these were the questions I asked and this is what showed up. And there are some people who aren't going to share. They're going to think it's a little weird, be a little protective. But the whole reason this person does this is that's kind of his starting point for his SEO strategy and his content strategy. He's starting to understand what prompts are getting him to show up, which ones are not. And then he's starting to build his marketing plan around that to start to improve the areas he is showing up and hopefully start to show up for the ones that he's not. Last point with this one, I think it's worth mentioning. I work with Stockton University. It's been like 8 or 9 years I've been working with them. So we do look at like year over year traffic. And when I brought this slide up to their attention, they popped in Google Analytics right away. And they're like, ChatGPT was the 4th highest driver of traffic to our website. And we've done nothing to pay attention to it, to address it. And I think it was worth sharing that there's a lot of marketers out there who they're using AI in their personal lives and they're not thinking about how their consumers are using it to find them. So last little slide here to wrap up, and I can go with slideshow mode if that makes it easier to see. But one of the biggest reasons I wanted to share this with everyone is I've noticed a trend where a lot of my clients were starting to get worried that they were seeing less traffic on their website. But in every single case, we were seeing higher sales than the year before. We were seeing higher conversions than the year before. And they weren't fully understanding that the dips in traffic are pretty much directly equated to these new user behaviors of people getting the info they need in, 0-click searches or in AI. And so they're spending less time on your website. But when they actually do get to the website, there's a lot more intent to make a purchase, and they're more likely to actually convert. So I'm going to pop out of this boring slideshow so that I can actually see all your wonderful faces again. There we go. Perfect. So if you guys are cool with it, I did this with every one of my clients, and I think it was a really good exercise. I would ask that you pull up whatever AI it is that you prefer using, whether it's ChatGPT, whether it's Claude, Gemini, Perplexity, you name it. And a really good starting point is just understanding how it sees your business on that platform. So I would go in and I would type, let's just say my business is one called Dental Dreams. This is one that I work with and I've done. I went into ChatGPT and I typed in, what is Dental Dreams known for? And if you guys are cool with it, I'd like to have you do that now for your business and see what it spits back.
This is a little bit scary, Jared. I'm not sure.
As a tool for your business?
I'm sorry, repeat that. There was background noise.
Is that skewed if you're using it as a tool for your business?
I wouldn't say that it's skewed. The purpose of this one is the way that I use this is I want to see what the AI engine thinks of my business, and I want to see if it's accurate. And that's my starting point. So I know when I did this, I found that 95% of it was accurate, but then there would be things in there that weren't relevant. It had services that they did not offer. It had things that they did not do. And so it could lead to obviously like a bad user experience if someone's seeing that and they think that they do the service, they offer it and they don't. So just out of curiosity, anyone who is able to do that, does it look like it spit out a prompt that's accurate for your business, or were you finding some things that were wrong with it?
I'll go, Jared. It's Rich. I'm pretty amazed. It actually is very on point.
Perfect.
I mean, and I mean, I use ChatGPT personally, but I just asked, who am I and what am I known for? And it came out very clear. So thanks.
That's awesome. Anybody else care to share?
Ours is the Outlier project is very accurate on perplexity.
Perfect.
Part of it is, and part of mine is, and part of it isn't. Like, I just finished a couple of big e-commerce searches, and for some reason it put up at the top a box that says e-commerce team structure, and then it has like all these people with titles underneath it, and then a graph of growth in e-commerce that I have no idea where that came from. So that's a little bizarre.
It will pull some random things like that, Jerry, that don't make a ton of sense. But what I would recommend doing here is, this is just a starting point, and I would take notes on this. And if you own a business where you know that your consumers or your customers are going to be on different platforms, I would do the same exercise on every different platform. I would do it on ChatGPT. I would do it on Perplexity. I would do it on Claude, you name it, and see if it's consistent across them, or, just see this, because the whole thought is a lot of my clients were using this for their personal lives, and they weren't thinking about how their customers were using it to find them. And this gives you a really healthy starting point for where you need to focus your marketing efforts. So the one thing I would ask next is something along the lines of like,
Jared, can I stop you a second?
Definitely.
So do we go in here then and ask ChatGPT to make changes to what they wrote?
So you can. I highly doubt that that's going to change it for somebody else's search, because it's going to need a lot of volume and repetition over time to trust it to serve the right results. So this will be more corrected through some type of work where you're putting out article content, fixing things on your website, doing social media posts. The more you speak to the things about your business across the web and these different platforms that they're pulling from is what's going to eventually help correct it.
Got it. So it just gives us information about what other people are going to be seeing. So we know that.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Cool.
I
Thank
think
you.
one of the reasons why the Outlier project stuff is so accurate is because it's pulling everything from LinkedIn, and there's so many people talking about the Outlier project on LinkedIn that it's pulling from like an enormous database, which is all, and everyone's saying kind of the same thing. So it's super accurate.
That's awesome. That's awesome, Scott.
Jared, I'm also kind of curious. This is just random, but like I pulled mine up, my LLC name, and it was like good, okay, and then bad. But part of it is like I've got the URL, and I'm early in my content journey, but there's other companies with Ironwood, and so I guess I think it's getting a little bit confused. I think it actually becomes a really important element of how you name your business.
Yes.
Uniqueness has been important, but I think it gets even more important now.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Brent. And unfortunately, not everyone's going to be able to do that if they've, established their business and there's overlap, things like that. But if you're starting a new business, that's definitely something you should be taking into consideration. Jim, I see your hands raised. Do you have a question?
Yes, just speaking to what Scott just mentioned about pulling from so much LinkedIn activity. I thought that all social media channels kind of existed on their own island, so to speak. So was Scott accurate as far as like LLMs will pull from social media?
Yes, because if you think about it this way, like if you search yourself online and you have some type of public presence, like if I have a Facebook, I can find Facebook posts that I have on a search engine like Google. So same thing with LinkedIn. If I'm looking for someone's LinkedIn content, things like that, like if you're able to find it through a search engine like Google, Bing, something like that, it is going to pull it in. And on top of that, these different social media juggernauts, they're all playing in the AI space too. So a lot of them are connected and correlated. So obviously like Google's going to be sharing its user data, things that they know with their platform Gemini, like same thing with Meta starting their AI. So does that help, Jim?
Yeah, it does. Thanks so much. That's illuminating.
Awesome. So to continue this trend, I'll just give you guys like some of the questions that like I ask when I've done this with every one of my clients, and it's actually given us like part of our marketing strategy for content we want to write, things that we want to start to push. But I would ask like, what are the strengths of my business and what are the weaknesses? And it'll spit it out and you can see if it's accurate or inaccurate. I like to find competitors. So like with Dental Dreams, I know that Aspen Dental is a big one for them. So I would put in like, Aspen Dental is one of our biggest competitors. Here's their website. What do they excel at? What are they weak at? And one of the biggest ones that is always good to ask is if I were a customer in this space, why would I choose Aspen Dental over Dental Dreams? And then I would ask the inverse question of what does why would I choose Dental Dreams over Aspen Dental? And just these little prompts, you can play with it as much as you want if it's not spinning back what you're liking or if you want to hammer down further on something. But little prompts like this are giving us marketing gold for what words we should be using, what's resonating with our clients, what we're not excelling at. I just tried this one out actually yesterday, and I'm definitely adding this one to my repertoire. Anyone on here with their business have a ton of Google reviews? Okay. So
yes.
If you don't have a ton, it might not be as relevant, but one of my clients' offices, they have like 70 some locations, and one of them has been struggling a little bit, and we're having a hard time putting our finger on why. So I started to notice that recently they started to get some 1-star reviews. And so I copy and pasted every single Google review they've ever gotten into ChatGPT. And I said, hey, can you please analyze all of these Google reviews over time and let me know what your trends and your insights are? I could not believe what it spit back in the actionable item I was able to take to my client. And it was borderline uncomfortable. Because going through it, it put out this whole marketing brief that looked like I put together this amazing professional report for them, which, spoiler alert, it was all ChatGPT, and I just, put my finishing touches on it. But there was reviews that were pretty damning for one of their doctors. And it was saying like, overall, their reviews are largely positive for the first 2 years of its existence, from 2023 to, 2024. They have really friendly staff. People like coming there, good repeat, all this other stuff. But they said in the last 6 to 12 months, there's been an uptick in 1-star reviews, and they're predicated around 3 major things. And the first one was around a Dr. Joe. And there was an entire subset of reviews saying, Dr. Joe was very rough with the cleaning. He was hurting my gums. He, did a filling and it fell out. He had bad bedside manner. And the other one, it actually compliment sandwiched it. It said, overall, the front staff is very, very kind and friendly, except for Veronica. It literally laid out like different instances of Veronica, like talking about patient, like things that shouldn't be talked about in front of the entire front office. yelling at coworkers, all this other stuff. But I was able to go to my client and have an honest conversation and say, hey, like this might be a piece of why you're struggling with new patient flow. Like, I don't want to throw someone under the bus, but like we need to remedy this so that it doesn't become a bigger issue. So like I said, if you have a lot of Google reviews, that's a cool way to get fast analysis instead of you trying to read every Google review for, the last 3, 4, 5 years. I'm trying to go through my notes here.
Carrie's got a question.
Perfect. I didn't see that. Carrie, go ahead.
That's okay. So I think kind of going back to what Jim was asking about as far as thinking that LinkedIn or some of the social media accounts might not be pulled in. I think there's a difference between it being a private personal account versus a public business account. So the Outlier project may be able to pull in more of that information because it's considered a business page and has a public presence. Whereas like I search myself and I'm an individual on LinkedIn, it's locked down. So
okay.
If you as a person are your brand, think about how you're set up in some of your social media tools to make sure you look like a business and not just an individual.
Great point, Carrie. I'll have to play around with that one a little more. I was under the impression that a lot of that was predicated on how like your different social media profiles were set up. Like if I had a personal like Facebook page and I had it set to like private and not public, then the likelihood of my post showing up on something like, or information about my post or my personality showing up on like an AI engine would be a lot less likely than if it was public domain. LinkedIn is kind of its own beast, and I don't want to misspeak to that one. So
yeah, that one's a little bit more has a little bit more of a wall around it than some of the other social media tools do. But like I said, I just compared the Outlier project to my own name, and I have specific references that I can get from LinkedIn about the Outlier project, but not from Carrie Barra.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah. And sorry, my actual question for you, so that was just observation. My question for you is about when you're doing some of this testing, do you put any additional prompts in to basically say, ignore what you know about me and what you've been collecting about me and my personality in a chat tool, because, and then say, now go and look at this website and tell me what you get, because otherwise I tend to it knows what my priorities are. It's like, you love art, so here's what you could get out of that site. So if that's not somebody else's priority, it might not highlight that feature. So
that is
additional prompts.
That's a fantastic point that you make, Carrie. And I actually like to do it from both ways. I don't think there's wrong answers when you're playing around with this, and there's no harm in trying it both ways and just seeing what comes back. I usually like to set up my prompts very specific, as like, if I was looking at a business, like I am a consumer looking for X, so that you're actually telling it like, this isn't for me. Like I am in the market for this. So I would definitely do exactly what you're saying and try it both ways. Just try it without doing the prompts, and then do it. Hey, ignore everything you know about me, my personality, me working with you, and do the same exercise.
Yeah, I like that, because that can help you kind of understand. You can create different, from a user research perspective, we would build different personas.
Yep.
So that you could understand, well, what if someone is just trying to learn about your business and they may not know the right words to use, versus someone who's already been doing a lot of consumer research and they're kind of like a little bit more informed, maybe closer to the ready to buy stage. Those two personalities might look very different. So the information that comes back could be very different. So yeah, I would think about different personas to create and then do your research with those.
That's a fantastic point, Carrie. That's awesome. The other thing is you can actually, a lot of times, like the different AI engines will give you prompts after you type these in, and it'll say, would you like me to do this? And it'll be like, the reviews was a good one, because when I went through that and found those damning reviews and noticed, okay, this is a negative trend that we need to figure out without me even having to do it. It's like, would you like me to put together like good ways of responding to negative reviews and positive reviews? And then you can start doing the prompts off of that. Straight up ask it questions too. Like if there's a service you're not showing up for, be like, this is one of my core services. Like, what can I do to start to show up for someone looking for this? And just see what it says, because there's no harm in seeing what it's going to spit back, and then applying this stuff to your marketing is where it starts to get fun, because you're going to see not just like how you view your business, but if you do these prompts right, you're going to see how your customers view your business and people who have bought from you view your business. And if you want to find more of them, you want to speak at their level and meet them where they are. So that's one of the biggest things that I use these different AI engines for, is when you're working with the same customer for 10 years and you're saying the same message over and over again, how do you not get stale with it when it's a simple thing? And, you know, we have all these ways of plugging in these prompts and saying, hey, here's, you know, my last 50 Facebook ads that were extremely successful. Can you please help me like tweak these to get better improvements, and just see what it spits back? So I really appreciate the back and forth here. There's some really good ideas that are coming from the room, and that's exactly what I was hoping for in this, that it would be a bit of a brainstorming session and not me just talking at everybody. Any other questions? Because I know you guys are kind of like typing away and doing some different things. So Dan, is there something in the, let me get out of the full view and let me look in the chat. So question, so do you need to pay to AI for search tools, meaning your business, to show up for others running a general search looking for your biz services? That's kind of a loaded question, I feel like. You don't necessarily need to pay, and there's no guarantee that you would show up if you were. But if you are doing things like search engine optimization, and you are actually putting money and effort into like different PR articles going out, different content, different blogs, different things like that, there's more of a chance that you will start to show up over time when people are looking for your services. Right now, there's no direct way of just, I want to pay, I want to show up in the search results when someone types in this keyword. I would be shocked if that's not on the horizon in the next year or so, because there's so much demand for it though. Dan, is that what you were hoping to get out of that? Did I read your question correctly? I was scrambling. I want to make sure I didn't miss any of it. Let's see if it pops up in the chat.
I gave you a thumbs up.
Oh, cool. He wasn't on my screen. This is, I have a whole new respect for the people that run these, trying to see the screen of everyone and have the message board. It's challenging. So Jerry, I see your hand is up.
You know, just quick question of your thoughts here. I used to use and pay for like 3 or 4 different search engines, and then our AI GPT things, like Claude, Gemini, and ChatGPT. And then I kept reading that it's best to use one so that it starts understanding the way that you speak and your language, and will give you better results. Have you found that to be true, or
I have?
What are your thoughts there?
So I actually want to defer a little bit to this. I'm not sure if you were on the call, but Iman Obu did one with her Vocable.ai in the Outlier project, like within the last year. And
I bought Vocable.
Yeah, so she gave a really good basically dissertation on this. Sorry, I have a bad connection. Can you guys still hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm not sure what happened to my camera on that one, but
yes.
Basically what her point was is that you want to almost upload everything you can about your personal life into this, so that you create the persona, and you're almost treating it as a system and not a task orientation. And it's almost like you're treating it to be your personal assistant, but you're uploading your entire life into this, your quirks, your everything. And the more it knows about you, the better it's going to be with that. So I don't say that you have to narrow it to just one, but whatever platforms you are using, I would take that same mentality to all of them.
Okay. Thank you.
That was a great question, Jerry. I thought I saw another hand. Am I missing one or no? I might have been making that up because my computer is spazzing out. Saying
it was me, Jared, Colleen.
Perfect.
So going back to digital marketing and the challenges we now face with AI, as you posed at the very top of the hour, how are you counseling your clients? Like, what are the strategies that you're recommending today? Like, so now we've characterized the problem and the challenges we're all facing, but what would you say are the top 1 or 2 things that all of us ought to be thinking about as marketing strategies moving forward?
Yeah, so great question. One of the biggest things is, I know I've said this a couple times, but not panicking right away, because like I said, a lot of marketers think that it's a canary in a coal mine, that I'm getting less traffic on my website, which eventually is going to lead to less sales and less customers. And that's not necessarily the case. So I always like to start with that, understand the landscape of how things have changed first. And then from there, it's hard to answer this because every business is going to be different in their strategy of how they approach it. But I know that, like, if you're doing a Google search, like, I'm going to double down on my keywords that I know are working well in AI. And I'm also going to start to use the ones that I'm not showing up as well for, as a way to kind of fill in the gap of the weakness for people who aren't using AI. So you're still getting them that way. When it comes to social media, whether you're doing paid advertising or boosted posts, I'm going to once again be playing off of those strengths from like AI, things like that, and trying to build exactly what I want to be showing up for in my words, my content, my videos, everything like that. And then programmatically, I know we didn't really get into that. That's a scary word in my world. Not everyone knows what it is, but when you think of things like streaming TV, connected TV, Spotify, the display ads that you see on various websites, things like that, telling a consistent message across those paid mediums also has an impact on some of these AI platforms. Cool. And guys, I apologize for my camera. I'm trying to get it to work here.
Hey, Jared.
Yes.
Hi. I'm sorry I joined a little late, but better late than never, right?
Of course.
So
can you guys hear Lindsay, or did I just lose her?
No, we lost her.
Oh, no, Lindsay, come back, come back.
We lost her.
There she is.
I see her.
Lindsay.
Lindsay,
all right, you're
in
back.
her car.
You're back.
We can see you, Linz, but can't hear you.
Brutal. I'm on the edge of my seat with this one. I can't. Oh. Lindsay, we can always catch up at any point if you want to remember your question and go from there. But yeah, guys, so I left a little extra time. Like, I can hang out longer, but if this was basically everything that I wanted out of today, was to just kind of share the challenges that I'm seeing, because it didn't matter what vertical I was working in. Every one of my clients was having the same, oh shit moment. Like, why is my traffic down? Like, is this going to be a long-term issue? And I realized that a lot of them were using AI in their personal lives, but nobody was addressing how their clients were using it, how their customers were. And when I started sharing that, I would see the light bulbs going off. So I'm hoping that, I know a lot of you are more advanced with AI than probably some of the clients I work with. I wouldn't expect anything else from the Outliers. But I'm hoping that you guys took something from today that you can apply to either your business, your personal life, or different ways of using AI to help with your marketing, help with your strategies, things like that. So,
Jared, I think this is a great reminder for businesses to know that, even like as you would talk about with your branding or your messaging, the more narrow and specific you are that makes you unique, that's better. Like,
exactly.
You don't need a million phone calls. You don't need to reach a million people. You need the right people coming for the right reasons. So I think that's one thing to always keep in mind when you're looking at any stats that come in on your website. Exactly to your point, you may get fewer, but hopefully they're more quality leads and traction to your site. So
of course,
I think it's a positive.
And I always recommend leaning into those things, because obviously, like, that's when the genuine stuff comes out. And that's when, like, it doesn't feel like someone's being marketed to, it feels like they're being marketed for. And that's a very big difference when it comes to the buying patterns of people. Anybody else have any questions, any comments, anything like that? Colleen?
Yeah, I was at a program last year. I think you guys will get a kick out of this. And it was a fractional CFO and a fractional chief marketing officer doing like tag teaming. And their topic was, what are the what's the remit of the marketing team now in light of AI, and what are the financial metrics that we ought to be monitoring relevant to marketing? So it was a really healthy conversation. But the one thing I walked away with is the guy that was from marketing, he said, next week, so this is last year, next week, Google and 2 or 3 other organizations are getting together to talk about the future of AI. So that should tell us all something. If anybody is telling you that they know what's going to happen with AI and they know the implications on marketing, they're lying to you. If Google doesn't know, if Apple doesn't know. And so I think that's how, like you just said, stop panicking, right? Don't panic. Nobody knows. And so we're all in it together, right? And this is an amazing community of people that as we learn, we can help each other out. And Jared, I just really applaud you for sharing kind of what you're noticing with clients and how that educates all of us. So nobody knows.
Appreciate that, Colleen. Thank you.
But this community can figure it out first, right?
If anyone can, it's definitely this group of people.
Yeah.
I just want to say, could I say something, Scott? Yeah. It's Rich. I just want to piggyback off of what Carrie said, because I think it's really important. For somebody like myself that's done branding for over 30 years, the one thing I've really learned is 2 things. You got to be known for something, and especially in the AI world, like Jared, when you made me do the ChatGPT thing, being known for something. And then the second thing is, you may not get a lot of traffic, you may not get a lot of comments, but you got to start building what you're known for, because then when they do the ChatGPT, or when a client, like I've had a lot of clients go to my LinkedIn, and even though I have like 2 or 3 comments, I'm the real deal. Like I am who I say I am. So don't give up, continue to build what you're known for. And I can't stress enough, you got to be known for one thing, especially in this new AI world. You can't be everything to everyone, because then you're nobody to nobody. Nobody to no one. So
very true, Rich.
Just wanted to say that.
You know, also, I do appreciate your patience, guys, because this was a lot easier to do when it was just one business, because obviously we could dive in, do this like on the fly, like kind of go through everything as it's coming out in real time. And it's a little more challenging when there's, 15, 20 people on it and everyone has a different business. So thank you for playing along and being patient as we went through it.
No, this has been great. We've got some really good resources in the community. 2 that come to mind: Iman Obu, who you referenced before. So she's our top advisor for AI, but also Jeremy Utley, who's another one of our advisors. So he's really our top advisor for innovation, but he's really at the forefront of AI. And Kathy, I don't know if you wanted to speak to this, but Jeremy gave us access to a course that he runs for free. And I know that Kathy's been taking some of those modules. I don't know where you're at with it. We haven't talked about it.
Yeah, there were about 30 of us that signed up for it. So I don't know how many others have tried it. It's self-paced, so the emails have been coming in, and I'm not that far in, maybe half a dozen lessons in, but it's been amazing. I was thinking I wasn't even qualified to take the class, that I didn't even know enough to do that. But it's really, really well done. And I would definitely recommend it.
It's awesome. If you guys,
Kathy, can you share that link with us again? I remember him talking about it when he was on, but I never signed up for it.
Yes, I will. Yes, I will do that.
This might be helpful for you guys. I'm definitely not an expert on this. I just learned about this yesterday, so maybe you guys even know more than I do. But Scott, I had another call with that Katie Shive, and she was walking me through some of the stuff that she does, because she had some pretty unique ways of using AI. She seemed to have locked herself in her basement for a year and learned everything she could on all these different platforms. So she was showing me some tricks the other day. And I've never used Notebook LM, but she walked me through it real quick. Has anyone else used that on here? Because I didn't even hear of it before yesterday.
It is wild, man.
Yeah.
It is wild. Yeah.
In minutes, she copy and pasted all of the Google reviews for one of her clients, put it into Notebook LM, and it gave all these different options. One of them was podcast format. She literally like clicked a button, and within a minute or two, she had like a 5-minute podcast where it was actual people talking, and they were using the real content from their reviews in like a podcast for it. And I was like, this is wild. Like I've never seen that before.
Is that within ChatGPT, or is that just?
I think it's part of Google, because I just typed in Notebook LM, and I'm pretty confident that it's part of Google Gemini, I think.
Yeah, it's a Google Gemini. There's some other I use Lovable, which is another like building tool. And yeah, you can build things. It's kind of scary in a way, because yeah, I could like give it a ton of my information, be like, here's a few examples of my most recent LinkedIn post. Here's my resume. So it like shows my history, any other information. And then I can ask it to create a conversational podcast, have two people talking, and it will sound like real people, and it will sound like it's me, like, because it's using words and terms that I use. It's a little scary how quickly it happens.
Yep.
Jonathan Mayo is one of our members, and he's shown Kathy and I how to utilize some of that stuff, and it's crazy. But that led us down a path for something that we're going to be launching soon, which is really cool. So yeah, I love having those conversations because they spark all these interesting things that you can do.
I will say, I think somebody else mentioned earlier in the chat, Gamma. It's not Notebook, but obviously it's for power. It's intended for PowerPoint, and I hate making PowerPoints.
You and me both, buddy.
Like hate it, right? It gets you about 80% of the way there, and I'm figuring out how to get it even further. So it's not perfect by any means, but like the amount of time that it saves is incredible. And so I've got a workflow now, essentially in strategic marketing, where I use Claude on the front end, just jam away for like an hour, get documents, dump it into Gamma. I got a PowerPoint, and it would have taken me days beforehand. So
yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, I think Notebook LM does some of that too, where you can have it put it into a slide deck. You can have it do like a flow chart. Like there was a lot of, like I said, I only spent about 5 minutes in it yesterday, and I was like, holy crap, this is unbelievable.
I don't know if anyone on this call is like, like me. I'm like the third guy from the left on the evolutionary chart. I'm still not standing erect, and my knuckles are dragging on the ground. And there's I don't know, I'm inventing this term. There's AI shaming. It's like if you use ChatGPT, God forbid, if you use it like as a search engine, people, like laugh at you. I'm like, I just think if you're using AI in any way, shape, or form, like applaud yourself. And you eventually, even a guy like me, like I'm impressed with like some of the stuff I'm using it for. And I'm probably, still using it like a kindergartner, but at least I'm using it and I'm getting better and better, and I'm getting, really useful stuff out of it. So I think don't worry about like using it like a rock star. Just start playing around with it. And I don't know. It's a like an evolutionary process.
Scott, I feel like I'm late to the party on this, but I just started reading Atomic Habits. I'm probably like halfway through it. And he makes a really good point about that. Like, just get your reps in. Like, that's how you're going to develop your skills. Just suck at it, get your reps, and get going. And I think that's a good attitude with AI, is just use it.
Yeah. Even, I was on the treadmill the other day, and, we have a graphic designer that we use, that we've been using for years. And I needed like 4 assets that we would have sent out to her. And I just asked Perplexity, like, can you create this? And in 10 seconds, it gave me 4 assets that I would have paid her money. And if she gave me what Perplexity gave me back, I would have been like, damn, like Danielle, that's freaking awesome. And so in 10 seconds, I got something for free. And I don't know, I was very pleased with myself. I was very proud of myself.
Awesome, Scott.
Number one, not spending the money, but just using an asset to create something that in the past I would have paid for.
And guys, sorry if I missed things in the chat. I was on the full screen and not seeing it on the side, so my fault. If I miss anything or you guys come up with anything, I'm always available. We can always pop in like a coffee chat or something like that. I'm always happy to help fellow outliers.
Awesome. Yeah.
Thanks, Jared, for the idea of running the search to see what other people see when they look at your company on ChatGPT. I always do it for companies I'm doing work with, but I didn't think about doing it for myself, which doesn't make a lot of sense. So thank you for that. That was a good idea.
Total sense, Jerry.
So we announced Mindy today as a new member. Mindy is awesome. She runs M Fractional. She's a fractional CMO.
Hi, everyone.
Absolutely tremendous new member. So welcome her on LinkedIn if you haven't already. But thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Scott. Well, it took me about like 40 minutes to get in. I'm not sure what was going on this end, but I'll listen.
It takes a little getting used to.
I'll listen to the replay.
If you have any issues, let Kathy know. She's great at helping people and guiding them through all of our systems.
And Mindy, if you want I can walk you through it too. If you want the Reader's Digest and not to just a boring replay, just let me know. I'd be happy to jump on.
That's great, Jerry. Thank you so much. I probably will reach out to you.
Sounds great. Yeah, we need to do a coffee chat anyway. I need to get to learn about you anyway, so we can 2 birds, 1 stone.
Thank you, guys. Jared,
Thanks,
this is
Jared.
great. You're the best. I appreciate you. And I will see you guys again soon. Everybody have a great weekend.
Thanks, guys.
Really good stuff. Thank you.